What is up, YouTube? D-Rec here with Alliance Rift, and I will be your commentator for this week's Card Fight Vanguard feature match. Today's feature match features Gurguit Unite versus Fenrir Revelation with the Wise Man Loop combo. Two very, very powerful decks, one capable of building devastating columns, while the other capable of building a devastating restanding combo attack. So in this match, we're just going to see how both decks kind of play off each other and which strategies kind of debilitate the other, and figure out which player is going to get the upper hand in this match. The Fenrir player is going to take the first turn this time around, and we're just going to see how he can deal with Gurguit being on the attack first. So, looks like we're going to kick things off right about now. So the Fenrir player is going to draw for a turn. He's going to ride into Gelja, a very, very important combo card in the Wiseman Loop combo, allowing Wiseman to get massive column size very, very fast. So the Gurguit player is going to attack first, and he's going to get the stand trigger on the offense, and the Fenrir player with the critical on the defense. The Fenrir player now takes his turn. He's going to go into his grade 2 game. He's going to call out Kotonoha and use her Revelation ability and Soul Charge 1. The Valencia will really help for Soul Charging later in the game when he needs to maintain higher levels of Soul to pull off the Wiseman Loop combo. Kotonoha is going to get the +1 for the Soul Charge and attack for 10,000 at the opponent's Vanguard to be guarded by a 10k shield, and then Gleipnir to be guarded, not guarded, and the attack to go through for the game to be tied up 1-1. The other player's going to go into his grade 2 turn now, and he's really going to aggro early on to try and get a damage lead, calling out 2 pile columns, 1 with a boost, so he'll be okay even if the Fenrir player gets a defensive trigger here in the Vanguard attack. And the Gurguit player is going to get the offensive critical trigger, putting the damage gap to 2, making it 3-1 with Gurguit in the lead, and then the last pile column for the 4th damage of this turn. So this really puts the Fenrir player in a bad position right off the bat. The big damage gap, not to mention being at 4 damage, is really, really hurtful for trying to sustain advantage in the mid to late game while trying to set up for big plays. So hopefully he can come back off that, maybe offensive, defensive heals here, and really, really should try and push to close the damage gap, maybe increase the Gurgit's player damage amount, so that when he goes into the Wiseman combo, he'll be able to really put the pressure on and not give any leg room for the Gurguit player to work with in terms of defensive triggers being at low damage. Looks like he's just going to leave it at that, and he's going to attack with Kotonoha for 14,000. In this situation, he really, really should be attacking the Vanguard to either force the double intercept or force guard, or put his opponent at higher levels of damage. But it looks like he's going to attack the rear guard this time around. The Gurguit player is still going to guard it anyway, so that definitely was an okay move by the Fenrir player, forcing the guard, but you really, really should be trying to push for some damage here to close the gap. But the offensive stand and heal is going to make Kotonoha 19k column while closing the damage gap to 1, putting it at 3-2, Gurguit in the lead. Kotonoha is going to swing for 19,000. He really should be attacking the Vanguard, like I said before. But if he's really trying to pick off rear guards at this point in time, that's okay too. Though having 2 piles on board really doesn't influence the rear guard position too much. Having 1 is just enough to make combo attacks work really well. And the Gurguit player is going to get the defensive heal without it going off and recovering a damage. So it will just be at that. And the Gurguit player is going to have to G-assist. So very fortunate for the Fenrir player. His opponent was going to have to discard some cards and reduce their hand advantage, but he was able to get Gurguit right off the top of his top 5 check, so he won't have to worry about not being stuck at 2, and he'll be able to stride first in this game. Now, most decks usually go for Scourge Point at the start. It gets a really big Vanguard column, as well as some bigger side columns too. Some builds prefer going Ebraucus or even Campbell. I don't think too many go play Campbell now, but it looks like the Gurguit player is going to go into Scourge Point for his first stride. He's going to use Gurgit's Stride Break to call a unit from top 4 first. That will really set up 1 column really nicely. So he's going to get Parrymore. Parrymore's skill is very, very good in this situation. It lets him get another column for just an additional counterblast. And instead of having to shuffle, it goes to the bottom deck. So in this situation, if most of his top checks are not triggers, it can really set up the probability of him getting trigger checks in his top 3 drive check. So for Scourge Point, he's going to get Scarface Line off the top. So now that column is going to be 25k, with Parrymore skill going off, making it 11k, plus the +5s from Scourge Point, and on top of the +2 from Gurguit. So it's going to be a 27,000 power column, forcing 20k shield. It looks like he's going to hold off Coel's skill. He's going to use that for a later strategy in the match. So he's going to swing with Parrymore first for 27,000 at the opponent's Vanguard. And he's going to force the 31k guard from the Fenrir player. So with the 2 calls, Scourge Point should be up to 36 by itself. With the boost, it'll be swinging for 41. And if he uses the crit skill, make it 46,000 power with the additional draw off of Scarface Line's ability, making it a very, very, very hard to block column unless the opponent has a perfect guard in the situation. And it looks like the Fenrir player does have that perfect guard, and he's going to be able to block that really big attack. So the Gurguit player is going to get the stand trigger and get the Parrymore back up, and a heal trigger. And this time the heal trigger will go off, seeing as they're both tied at 3 now. The Gurguit player will be back down to 2, making the lead in his favor. And he's going to get another stand trigger. Not too favorable in this position because he doesn't have a booster for Parrymore, but the power all the same is very, very essential. So Parrymore is going to get plus 15k power, and he's going to be able to attack for 16, 18, 33,000 by itself. So he still has the column left with Parrymore, not Parrymore, but Jeffrey and Quill. He'll be able to get an additional draw off of Jeffrey's skill, not to mention an additional attack potentially off of Pyle's skill for a single counter blast, making it really essential for him to try and stop the attack. And the Fenrir player is going to G-Guard with Iris. Iris is very essential in this situation. Having had to discard a couple of the stand triggers earlier on, the Fenrir player can use this to set up his soul for a Wiseman play later and have the Taros and soul to get his restanding combo off. And then he's going to swing in with Quill and Jeffrey for 16,000 power at the Vanguard. He has his top 3 check with Quill's skill. So he got Henrius off the top check. Henrius is going to give Scourge Point itself +5, and then that can be essentially helpful. It doesn't look like he's going to go into Henrius after all. It looks like he's just going to go into Bullrugel. Bullrugel is going to get +5 from Scourge Point, and is going to make it a 19k attack when it attacks Vanguard. So the last attack for the Gurguit player of this turn, and it looks like he can go either way. They'll still be able to hit Vanguard or Rear Guard if he really wants to get rid of Kotonoha and avoid high power columns. He's going to go after Kotonoha this time around. And the Fenrir player is going to let Kotonoha be retired for that attack. And that will conclude the Gurguit player's turn. So now the Fenrir player has a couple options now that he's G-guarded. Generation Break 2 may be active. I'm not too familiar with how Fenrir's skill goes off, but I think it's Generation Break 3, so if it's Generation Break 3, he won't be able to do it this time around. His best bet will probably be to go into tier, really set up his soul so he'll be able to do Wiseman this turn or in a following turn later on. So he's going to go into tier, and he's going to Soul Charge 3 with Fenrir's skill. He's going to use Letting to get an additional Rear Guard off this turn from the Soul. So he's going to use tier skill. Looks like he's going to Soul Blast Wiseman, Gleipnir, and Valencia. Valencia will let him put 2 back from the 3 he just took out, so he'll only neg 1 for the Soul Blast. And he's going to get Wiseman and Gleipnir on Rear Guard with Fenrir and I forget what the name of the starter is, but the starter skill will allow him to get one of the 2 units out alongside Fenrir's ability. So it seems like the Fenrir player is trying to go for his combo push this time around instead of holding off an extra turn. Probably the best bet for him. The Gurguit player has a very, very good damage lead right now, being at 2 to his 4. So it would be at his benefit to try and push the gap, or even close the gap, and end the game here and now if it's possible. The Gurguit player only has about 5 cards in hand, I believe. The 3 trigger checks and any of the additional cards that he drew off of Jeffrey and off of Scarface Lion. So this could be the turn for the Fenrir player to make his comeback. And if he gets any offensive triggers here and gives it all to Wiseman, Wiseman will be a very, very hard column to deal with, especially if he's looking to work with some damage and make some plays happen in his next turn with, say, either the Gurguit Stride or Glorious Raiding Dragon or even Spear Cross Dragon just to refill his board. He's going to intercept the Gleipnir column attack with Bulrugol for 16 to its 13. And he's going to swing with Tyr next. And Tyr's skill is active since he Soul Blasted 3 and checked the top card. So he'll be able to Soul Charge for every non-grade 0 unit he checks off top check for his drive checks. So the Gurguit player is going to respond with Guardian with Slimy Flare, putting Poil back to check top 5 for up to 2 Guardians of different grades to make the defensive power a lot stronger. He's going to get the 10k and the 5k shield, making it a, I believe, 30k shield on top of the 11k base of Gurguit, making it a 41 3 to pass guard for the Fenrir player. So in this situation, it wouldn't be too essential for the Fenrir player to hit triggers, so he really wants to build the soul off of getting non-trigger units, so getting the soul charge off. He's really setting up for Fenrir, or for Wiseman. He's going to get the offensive stand, he's going to stand Gleipnir, but he's going to get the power to Wiseman, and then the critical also to Wiseman. So right now Gleipnir by itself is at 9k, and Wiseman is at plus 12 from the 2 Geljas and the 10k from the triggers. So 22, on top of the 10k it's 32, with the skill make it a 36k column by itself. Still very, very powerful and still very difficult to guard. And it looks like the Gurguit player is going to take the first attack from Wiseman, but Wiseman still has a few more attacks, I believe. I know with the Irish G-Guard he was able to put 2 Taro into the soul, and there's 1 Ruined Virgo right there, so we can assume that there's 2 in the soul right now. So he's going to get this attack, and I believe this will be, he'll have 1 more attack after this. So again, another additional 36,000 power coming at the Gurguit player's Vanguard. And with Tower Skill Soul Charging too. I know, and that was Tower Skill with, I believe it's his other copy of Valencia and the Soul to Soul Charge too. Or Grappa, whichever one. I know both of them do the same thing. I'm not sure which one he Soul Blasted in the that last move he made there. The Gurguit player was able to get the superior Perfect Guard with Gurgit's skill, giving him a bit of an edge here and having to not waste hand resources on the Wiseman attacks. So I believe he only had the 2 Taro in the soul, so this it looks like this will be the last time that that was the last time that Wiseman was going to be able to restand. So this is the last attack for 36,000 power at the Gurguit player's Vanguard here. The Gurguit player is going to respond by activating Gurgit's defensive ability. And it looks like that he forgot to Soul Blast for Gurgit's ability, but it looks like Negative player noticed, though in the future he should remember to pay the full cost for the skill when he's going to activate it. I know in high level events they will, most players do call for that, so he really should be wary of that and be careful not to make any misplays like that, because it could affect him in the late game and later in the rounds. And the Fenrir player is going to attack with his Gleipnir column. It's only 9k, but it's a good test to see if the opponent was remembering whether or not there was actually any power assigned to that unit, making it a viable attack. And it looks like the Gurguit player notices, and he's going to just let it not hit. So the Gurguit player's turn is now up, and he really has no resources to work with. He's very limited. No counterblast to do any sort of glorious rating or scourge point plays. He really can't even use Gurgit's stride break ability to make any rearguard columns. And he's gonna be able to. He's going to stride anyway. He's going to go into the Gurgit stride. Very interesting for the situation he's in right now. Unless he has something in hand that allows him to kind of come back, he isn't going to be able to do anything except vanilla stride and attack with it. And he's going to have the Throwing Knife Knight Malagant in hand, allowing him to countercharge 2 at the expenditure of 2 soul. Kind of not ideal in this situation because he needs the soul for the Gurgit stride, but he's going to have the 2 soul to soul blast Scarface Lion, or not Scarface Lion, Gorboduk and Henrius from the soul in order to pay the cost for a one-time Gurgit stride skill, making Malagant and Cole +5 and the Gurgit stride +10, making the Vanguard attack a 41k attack. Now, as we saw in the last turn, with the last 3 cards in the Fenrir player's hand being a stand, a crit, and a grade 3, on top of anything else he might have drawn. I don't think he drew any cards in this last turn, but those are the only 3 cards he has in hand at this time. He's not going to be able to guard the Gurgit attack, and he may have to hope that the opponent does not hit a critical trigger, and any other trigger will be fine, because right now Malagant's only a 10k. It really can only hit Wiseman or Gleipnir. It can't hit the Vanguard currently, and even with triple trigger checks outside of criticals, the Fenrir player will be able to guard it pretty easily for 31,000 power. But it looks like the Fenrir player is not going to guard, and the Gurgit player is going to get the offensive critical that he needs to push the Fenrir player to 6 damage. And it looks like the Fenrir player is just going to scoop right then and there, and that will be the end of the game. Very interesting match from both sides. Very, very close. Both kind of pushing each other to the brink of limited resources, and it was a very, very close game overall. Thank you guys for watching. Please sure to like and subscribe. We'll be doing a lot more content, so we'll see you in the next video.